Alright, YouTube. Let's get started.
Defend Michael Jordan right now. You do not know him. I grew up with the Chicago Bulls. They hid that man like crazy. You saw him on the basketball court or a planned TV interview, and that was it. But we do know Michael has a bunch of shady things in his past. His dad being suddenly kidnapped and found unalived on the side of a highway in North Carolina. And his retirement from the NBA shortly after that. And the rumors went around that this was all over that and a gambling that he had, allegedly. All of his kids have grown up to be super duper weird. All of them having some kind of substance issue. I know this
I remember
sucks
that.
for
Okay,
a
yes.
lot of people
Do
my
you have any of
age
that
that
video?
grew up worshiping Michael Jordan, but you don't know the man. You saw him play on WGN every night. You saw him hit the game-winning shots. He treated his teammates like shit. His first wife left him.
Yeah, what's
and that
going on,
video
y'all?
with that kid
What is going
so
on?
disturbing. I don't
Mike?
care who you are. It is
I want to be
never
like
okay
Mike. I don't
to
know.
put your hands
Maybe
on a
not.
child like that, even if it's your fucking own.
Yikes.
Keep your hands to
Big
yourself.
Foster an entire production team.
That's what she said.
And
you know what?
Team. We'll
What
see
was
you
that?
from Atlanta next week. With NASCAR
Okay,
Race Day next Sunday,
James.
2 p.m. McDonald, Darren.
Peter Thomas Roth, I want to know what you're doing in these files. In fact, I want to know what you're doing in these files so far that you're redacted, that there's names redacted on every single page where your name is at. Every single meeting that you had with these people, the name of the person you were meeting is redacted. What business did you have with these people, Peter Thomas Roth? I feel like you don't deserve a space on TikTok, Peter Thomas Roth.
Who is he?
TikTok, do what you do. He's literally sitting up here making millions of dollars on people selling his tightening cream. And he is all up in these files. That's right. Him and Maxwell were tight buddies. In fact, Roth sent tons of gift bags to Jeffrey. I think there was 13 gift bags, and one of the messages, there's lots of them. I searched one and there was 84 different searches, and then there was 64 different searches. But lots of different private meetings with lots of redacted people that you're meeting with. I would like to know who these people are. And I'm sure the rest of TikTok would too.
Who is Peter Thomas Roth? I guess he sells skin cream. He turned up the comments.
It's a mini Labubu, Mom.
Mini Labubu.
It's so cute. Look at that.
He's probably a Rothschild. Like, yeah, I mean, they're not very secretive about it.
The conspiracy has long run through Silicon Valley that the city's whole tech scene is run by a gay cabal helmed by Peter Thiel. Even though that sounds like a sort of horror story written in an Equinox men's steam room, a Wired investigation was published today that showed that it's largely true. The piece was divisive and revealing on many levels. Wired reporter Zoe Bernard spent months interviewing 51 people, 31 of them gay men, in the city, investigated whether gay men had built an informal power network at the very top of tech. It shapes who gets funded, who gets hired, who gets a seat at the
Sam Altman, he's homosexual.
table, or an invite to the gay Halloween party. Here's what she actually found. There's some incredible quotes in this article. There's a gay VC group chat that one man
In the files, there's an email where Jeff was talking about how Zuckerberg's homosexual too, which makes sense given his relationship with his wife. Like, they don't seem like a straight couple.
member describes it 60% business and 40% hee hee ha ha about classically gay topics. There are White Lotus themed parties where, as one source puts it, girls are just not present. They are just not there. There's also a Barry's boot camp that sources describe as the most unofficial networking hub of the whole thing. All guys, all gays, and everyone has abs. The piece also has what might be the quote of the year: straight guys have the golf course, gay guys have the orgy. It doesn't mean it's problematic. Equal opportunity. So that leaves women the nail salon. The piece does go to darker places. Of the 31 gay men interviewed, 9 reported that there were unwanted advances from senior colleagues. One believes that turning someone down cost him a job. Potential LP once invited a founder to a meeting at his
Ooh, that's not good.
home with the suggestion, we don't need to wear clothes, we could just sit around and talk about your fund in my hot tub. Also intimates there are multiple meanings to something called seat round. It's a very colorful piece. And there's a number that flips the entire story on its head, which is between 2000 and 2022, only 0.5% of all startup venture funding went to LGBTQ plus founders. The narrative, the gays run everything, and the fact that the actual funding data doesn't reflect that can't both be true at the same time. But I have a few theories that potentially reconcile that. One is that the network benefits gay executives, not gay founders. They're completely different populations. So the gay men who are running OpenAI, Apple, Founders Fund, those are operators and investors, not founders that are necessarily seeking capital. So a gay VC funding his gay friends doesn't necessarily show up as LGBTQ founder funding if the recipient isn't publicly out or self-identified. And second, the network is social and not transactional. So the piece itself makes this point pretty much. This advantage isn't necessarily in direct investments, it's in warm introductions, reference calls, investor signals, the kind of access that determines whether you get a meeting at all. None of that shows up in an LGBTQ plus founder funding database. Also, the piece says this explicitly. The network is small, it's self-selecting, lesbians are sidelined, trans founders are largely absent. The gay tech mafia is actually a very narrow slice of cis, affluent and right-leaning gay men who prize aesthetics, low body fat. So the 0.5% could be accurate for LGBTQ plus founders broadly, while a tiny subset of gay men is extracting disproportionate value. Informal networks have always determined who gets access to capital, like Ivy alumni or country clubs or family offices. In this case, Silicon Valley is building its own very fit version of that. That same critique apply. One anonymous signal source also told the reporter that to critique the group at all is to expose yourself to serious danger. The real story was QAnon level explosive, refused to name any names, and said he feared that he would be, quote, killed for talking. If you just stick to applying via LinkedIn, a conspiracy is
Interesting. So right now the world is ran by a group of pedophiles. Well, not the whole world, but the Western world is ran by a group of pedophiles. And this network has existed for 100 years because they're hated by all societies and governments and people. So they needed each other for survival. And there's a smaller version of that apparently, I guess in Silicon Valley, that Peter Thiel runs. I guess the non-pedo people run that part. Not that I support LGBTQ people being enterprising and running businesses and everything, but it's not when it's problematic where you are punished for calling it out or stuff like that.
7, 6, 11, 5, 9 and 20 miles today. 7, 6.
In Bosnia, there was the genocide in Bosnia with Armenians that the United States had a hand in.
Crazy story. So there was a group of rich tourists that were
yeah, Sarajevo. That's what we covered yesterday. The lady was talking about it, and she's drawing the parallel between how rich people go hunt people in Sarajevo, and poor people hunt people by joining ICE. So if this lady's combat husband saying that, I guess that checks out. Yeah, and looks like she's a regular person. Could be AI, I don't know. Who knows?
Something like that. Can we make sure that we don't forget about
But it's checking out with what other people are saying.
7, 6, 11.
So is the NBA still a basketball league, or is it just a collection of Epstein execs and a bunch of war investors? I honestly didn't think it could get any worse after like 4 of their execs got named on the Epstein list. But literally in the same exact week, some of their biggest on-court stars are also getting caught for funding the whole Zionist war machine. Reports have just come out that Steph Curry and his firm have invested tens of millions into startups run by literal ex-Mossad spies. He's literally investing in real-time surveillance that is used to monitor populations under occupation. His partner literally said he wants to build Zionism 2.0. You've also got superstar Kevin Durant, who also just got busted with his firm, 35V, for being an early investor in an Israeli drone startup. Finally, the chef's kiss. While the world calls to arrest Netanyahu, the man himself sends a love tweet to the NBA's new IDF foul merchant, Denny Advia. At least we know who to root for now. Make sure to show love to Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Yusuf Nurkic, Tari Eason, and Dame Lillard for keeping it real and showing love to the resistance despite everything around them telling them not to. So
So everybody's making a big old deal right now because Salma Hayek and Angelina Jolie are in Veracruz right now in a place called Catemaco or Catemoco. I hope I pronounced it right. And right away you can tell who's actually from Mexico and who isn't just by the comments. The ones that are from here are like, oh my god, they're so humble. Salma Hayek's so humble, never forgetting her roots and blah blah blah. I swear my people are so asleep. And then you have the locals from Veracruz, which are saying what it really is. And they said it's not a good reason. They're there, but it is not for a good reason. Why? Because that place, Catemoco, Catemaca, whatever, is actually the capital of the brujas, the capital of the witches, as this person says right here.
Catemaco, justo.
Sí. Allá es la capital de la brujería.
And what the locals are speculating, because they know what happens in that place, they're known for TikTok. This is just a conspiracy, but they're very highly known for rituals and things like that. And most of the people, the locals in the comments, are saying the same thing, that she's there for the red juice. Or they're there, both of them. And yes, I mean, are y'all really surprised? Salma Hayek, she's the same one who does these kind of things. And I know y'all say, oh, it's just a video, but a lot of these celebrities hide the truth in things like this. And I mean, there's even a book about it, this book right here, where it talks about, the powerful leaders there, all the politicians and everything, they go there for their brujeria stuff. And it's just really sad to see how some parts of Mexico, they just completely turn their backs on God, and this is like their main thing. And it's no surprise that Veracruz is known as one of the most high crime, most dangerous places in Mexico right now. And what a coincidence, it happens to be the capital of the darkness, the spirit world, the dark spirit world. And again, TikTok, this is for entertaining purposes only.
the wooden greenhouse at the local store.
Wexner is claiming that he and Epstein weren't friends, yet Wexner made Epstein his power of attorney. Now, you don't just make someone power of attorney. It has to be someone that you trust, someone that you've known for quite a while, because they're the people who will be standing in your place to make financial decisions. Wexner told Congress earlier this week that he was conned by a man he barely knew socially. However, beginning in July 1991, Epstein had the authority to sign Wexner's checks, hire his staff, and even sign his personal tax returns. It wasn't just a business deal, it was a relationship built on total access. For over a decade, Epstein's signature appeared on Wexner's personal real estate and corporate records. As Wexner's empire grew, so did Epstein's, fueled by this unique level of legal authority. Epstein even bought a $3.5 million house right next door to Wexner's estate. While Wexner maintains he never knew about Epstein's crimes, the paper trail shows a 16-year bond that was forged in ink and reinforced by millions in shared assets.
Answer not the question. 5 words, okay?
Video released Thursday of a 5-hour deposition of retail magnate Les Wexner shows the billionaire repeatedly insists.
So I have a full video about this coming out soon, but Apple just bought another Israeli startup to the tune of $2 billion. This company spent $2 billion buying another piece of Israeli tech when they can't even offer their retail employees good enough sick or vacation time. Or they tell their retail employees that they can't afford to hire more people because they're too busy spending billions of dollars buying Israeli tech to put in your iPhone. Just so you know, this is not the first Israeli company that Apple has bought so that they can put Israeli tech into your iPhone. Your Face ID, that was started by a company in Israel. And it's really, really funny because this company loves to talk about how they're all about making the world a better place, right? It was literally in their credo. But somehow, when they post job postings, they have offices in East Jerusalem, which by international law is Palestinian land. But you know what they call East Jerusalem? Israel. So this company is massively Zionist, and for the last 2 years I've continued to talk about how Zionist they are, and I will continue to educate people about how evil they are. But for God's sake, this company spends billions of dollars on all of this spyware, and they can't even treat their employees right.
People are finally acknowledging that Epstein's first victim came from Interlochen Center of the Arts in northern Michigan. I am so fucking relieved. I worked at Interlochen Center of the Arts at the Arts Academy for 2 years, and I worked at the summer camp for 2 summers. Most of my time spent working at the boarding school was honestly spent helping children who had been groomed, that had been assaulted, and trying my best to protect other situations like that from happening to them while I was there. I spent so much time working with my students to help them through their pain and to try to protect them from other things. But it just felt like it was always something the institution was going to just toss off as something that just happens. And I felt so outnumbered there because no one else cared. And I just felt like I was going insane constantly. And I just feel so relieved seeing these files come out and the truth finally come out, because I literally was losing my mind for 2 years trying to prove this and trying to protect these students. The things that they do to children there who just wanted to create art is absolutely unspeakable, is unfathomable. And with the boarding school, these children are so far removed from their families. They are so vulnerable. I just wish the school was shut down completely. These kids get to go to great colleges, they get to go to great places after, but I don't think it's worth the overall risk of the vulnerability of these kids being out there knowing that the institution only protects predators and they remove people like me who try to protect the kids. When I finally got enough information, enough data, enough proof, documented evidence, and I sent it to the president of the institution naively. I was only 23 years old when I was working there at the time. I sent it to the president of the institution thinking that Trey Devi was a good person because I'd known him around the campus. The students love him and support him, and he was the one person I never actually heard anything poor about because he had a daughter who also goes to the school. And when I sent him everything I knew, everything I'd learned, I got called into the dean's office the next day, and I was sat in front of paperwork, the confidential termination paperwork. And when I tried to walk away, get support from my supervisor, from my coworkers who knew what I was trying to do for the kids, I was immediately stopped by the head of campus safety. And he's been the head of campus safety for years and years and years, so he knows how all of this works. He stops me immediately and goes, if you move another step, we will call the police and have you arrested as a trespasser on this campus. Keeping in mind, this was my home for 2 years. This is where my students lived for 2 years. I never wanted to leave them behind without saying anything to them. I was literally, I felt like I was put at gunpoint to sign those papers, and I did not want to leave my students yet. I still wanted to protect so many of them. And I felt horrible having to leave them in that place, in that state, and not knowing that I didn't trust anyone working there. I really didn't. Anyone I tried to report anything to just made me feel like I was insane for seeing what is obviously the truth now. What disgusts me working at the boarding school is how many people are complicit and comfortable knowing these kids are getting groomed, seeing the signs, knowing what's going on. And if you were a student there and you need to understand what that looks like is the way that these random rich people, these random people come in and pretend to adopt you while you're away from your families. There's a lot of international students who come in and they're on these visas and they have no choice but to stay with these families for winter breaks because they can't fly home, especially with COVID restrictions. These rich families will say, oh, you're so sweet, you're so special, let me take you out to dinner, let me take care of you. And that's exactly how Epstein got his first victim, and that's what Interlochen does constantly to its kids, is groom them, make them think they're special with specific adults until one day that adult crosses a line, and then that student feels so indebted to that adult they don't say anything. They're too scared to do anything, and it takes until someone really rare shows up like me that they feel safe enough to talk to, that the institution just chews up and spits the fuck out. I want to sue, but I don't even know if I can, because when they made me sign the paperwork, I automatically got sent the rest of my pay for the year, which should have been a red flag for me. But again, I was so young myself at the time too. This was one of my first jobs out of college when I was dealing with all of this, and I had no idea what my rights were. I had no idea what was happening. My mom had passed away just 6 months before, so when they tossed me out, I had truly nowhere to go, and I had no idea what to do. And that money was the only way I didn't die when they kicked me out, because when I lived there, they covered my housing. I got my food from cafeteria. I had nothing but what I had there and my students. So when the money came in my account, I wasn't even sure with the confidentiality clause and with the money would I ever be able to speak out. But with the files coming out, oh my god. I was so scared that if I even tried to push my case, it would just get buried and buried and buried by Epstein's legal team, because I knew that my case had ties to Epstein's case. I knew that. It was too big for me to take on my own without a proper legal team. But now that it's finally public knowledge, I want to come back to this and finally get justice for this situation, because it literally ruined my whole life and almost ruined my career. I haven't felt comfortable in the arts ever since, and I know so many of my kids feel that way too after coming out of this institution where I don't even play trumpet anymore. I was a nationally ranked trumpet player. I love trumpet more than anything in the world, but I haven't really been playing much since I left there. And I want to reclaim my career, my degree, my profession, and not let these people make art feel scary because they took over our spaces and made us feel afraid to make our own art again. And any student I had to leave in cold blood at that point in time, please know There's nothing more I wanted to do than be there for you in your college auditions, to help you through your senior years, and to make sure that you were okay and safe every night. That meant the world to me, knowing what was surrounding you. All I ever wanted to do was protect all of you, and I'm so sorry that I went so far that I couldn't even stay in that right box to finish out the year and be there for you guys, because ultimately I knew the best thing I could do was at least be there for you and protect you guys, even if I couldn't take on the whole Goliath myself. I'm so sincerely sorry. The Aggie student that already felt abandonment issues being at the boarding school, for me to build a safe space and then to suddenly disappear was the last thing I ever wanted to do. I always told my students I would only leave them if I won an audition, because I never wanted to leave them unless I got my dream job, and then all of a sudden I did the worst thing that I never wanted to do, because I never wanted to do that. And I just want to take this opportunity to, if any of my students do see this, to know I never wanted to run out on you guys like that. And I prayed for your safety, and I thought of you constantly, and I was young too, and I didn't know what else to do. And I'm really sorry for any hurt I ended up causing when I had to leave.